Back to Alpe d'Huez for Andros Trophy, and before we get into the final races, the big events and the main point scoring final of NASCAR. NASCAR is the prime race series in the United States in terms of people watching on both TV and live at the racetracks as well. It's a somewhat different form of racing to touring car racing in the UK. The cars are specific race cars built on a space frame chassis and powered by glorious V8 engines. And next year on Eurosport, we'll be taking the NASCAR series in its full entirety, either live on Sunday nights or with highlights on Monday nights in Speedworld. So an opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about NASCAR and about the racetracks on which they race. It's a great big variety of racetracks as well, a little bit like IndyCar racing. We see short ovals, which are much shorter, some of them, than the ones we see in IndyCar racing. We see some medium-sized ovals, the likes of Charlotte. And we see the super speedways like Talladega and Daytona, where the series gets underway in February. The racing is close and furious. Sometimes a little difficult to read, but always very exciting. And it provides some tremendous entertainment for the thousands of fans that come along to watch. One of the main racetracks in the United States for NASCAR is the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina. It's the venue of the Coca-Cola 600 in May, the longest race in the NASCAR Championship. It's situated in true NASCAR country, and many of the top Winston Cup teams are based nearby. It's a little bit like the Indianapolis is to the IndyCar race series. Huge grandstands plus floodlighting for nighttime racing. And it's a 1.5-mile oval track with banked corners of 24 degrees in the shape of a D with a kink on the start-finish area. It's a track that sees some tremendous racing throughout the course of the year, and one of the most popular tracks for the spectators. And that 600-mile race in May really is one of the feature events of the championship. Well, we learnt more from Ron Green, the press officer.
Motor Speedway, one of the most famous motorsports facilities in the entire world. The cornerstone of Charlotte Motor Speedway is the 1.5-mile super speedway. The speedway is unique in its shape. It's D-shaped. The corners are banked at 24 degrees. That's both turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The premier events here at Charlotte Motor Speedway include 3 different NASCAR Winston Cup events. They include the Winston All-Star Race in May, followed 1 week later by the Coca-Cola 600, and then in our October 500-mile NASCAR race also. Presently, Charlotte Motor Speedway seats approximately 115,000 spectators. We also fill the infield for all 3 of our NASCAR races. We have an estimated attendance of more than 160,000 spectators for our Coca-Cola 600, our biggest event. Presently, we're just starting groundwork outside of Turn 2 of the Speedway for our brand new Diamond Terrace grandstand, which should be one of the nicest grandstands in all of racing when it's completed. It'll be approximately 59 rows high, also house 26 VIP suites. The seats themselves, just for the general spectators, will be wider than your normal grandstand. We're really going for fan comfort for this project. This should give us about 130,000 permanent spectator seats for our oval races. Also unique at Charlotte Motor Speedway, in Turn 1, you'll see 2 different structures. Those are condominiums, privately owned condominiums that are owned. All 52 are privately owned. We have a few condominiums which are inhabited all year long by permanent residents. Most of the condominiums are owned by people involved in racing. They use them as in place of a hotel or an apartment if they have a long-term guest coming to the area. Condominiums are used for that purpose. think a lot of race fans would enjoy waking up and hearing Dale Earnhardt test his Monte Carlo here and watching Bill Elliott circle the track during lunchtime. Yeah, I think this would be a dream home for many race fans. Right now we're in the Speedway Club. It's a private dining facility located on the 6th floor of the Smith Tower here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's one of the nicest dining facilities you'll find at any motorsports facility. Members can come and eat before an event. It's open through the week, I mean, for lunches. It's just a special amenity that we like to provide serious motorsports fans in the community, the Charlotte community.
Are you a member, Ron?
Yes, I'm a member.
How can we see that?
This is the membership card. It's membership. The card gives you the same privileges you'd have at a country club. Again, it's a private controlled dining facility. It's a world-class chef. They also have special events here, non-racing related special events. It's just another part of Charlotte Motor Speedway that makes it unique compared to most other facilities. After each Winston Cup event here, the winner and sometimes the car owner and maybe the crew chief are taken from Victory Lane via shuttle, a van shuttle and police escort up here to Smith Tower, where they meet a lot of the Speedway Club members. They bring them right up here to the club, and they have what's called the champagne toast with the owner of the Speedway, some of the founding members of the Speedway Club. It's just another unique aspect that goes along with winning one of the prestigious races here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
That's good. Got it.
Much of the racing this year centred on these two, Terry Labonte in the Kellogg's Cornflakes car, and in the DuPont car, the reigning champion, Jeff Gordon. The fans can hear more through the radio at Charlotte.
I'm Alicia Lingerfelt with Performance Racing Network, which is a subsidiary of Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we handle the radio shows that are nationally syndicated, such as Fast Talk with Benny Parsons, and we also have a local radio show that runs Monday through Friday, 1 to 2, Trackside with Doug Rice. And this is our board where we run all our sound and voice through. These are our telephone lines where we have callers call in, and we bring them up on the telos, which brings them up on this computer so people know who they're talking to and what their question already is, so they can already prepare themselves what's going to come up. And this is, we transmit out on phone lines to a satellite, and this is our Switch 56. And that sends it all out, this little box. If something happens to this little box, none of us have a job.
Hi, I'm Doug Rice of the Performance Racing Network based here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Glad to have all the European race fans tuning in. Come on over across the pond and join us for the Coca-Cola 600 next May. Message for all our great fans on Eurosport television. You need to make your way on over here to Charlotte, North Carolina, and catch all the action of the Winston Cup Stock Car Series. We think it's the best racing in the world. There may be a little difference of opinion there, but check us out. Next year we'll have the stock cars and a lot of other great racing action right here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and you can catch it all on the Performance Racing Network.
Well, you'd never know he was a DJ on the local radio, would you? There's Doug Rice just welcoming us to Charlotte, where we will be indeed next year to follow the coverage of NASCAR during 1997. Some tremendous racing in prospect, and if the racing's as good as we saw through some of 96 and in previous seasons, we're in for a real treat. But it's all a question of learning a slightly different racing championship. The technical rules are very, very different to anything that we might expect in the UK in touring car racing. So we took the opportunity whilst in this area of NASCAR country to go and visit one of the big teams, and after the break you can join us as we go to Hendrick Motorsports and learn a bit more about how these cars are put together.
präsentiert das einmalige Hot Hits Special, die Super Hot Hits aus 96. Legen Sie jetzt los mit 16 galaktischen Charthits auf einer CD. Ihr Startangebot zum brandheißen Superpreis von nur 12,90 Mark. Rufen Sie jetzt an 0180 532 3232 und bestellen Sie Ihr Hot Hits Special. Die Hot Hits. Alle 2 Monate neu und brandaktuell. Nur Originalaufnahmen, nur Originalstars. Die Hot Hits gibt es nicht im Handel. Time Life ist kein Club, deshalb kein Kaufzwang. Bestellen Sie jetzt Ihr Startangebot für nur 12,90 Mark. Rufen Sie gleich an 0180 532 3232.
My son was kidnapped 3 days ago.
Enter the ransom competition for a chance to win a Philips widescreen home cinema TV set. Runners-up will receive a ransom bag. Call now. Good luck.
Give me back my son!
Welcome back to Speedworld, where we're going on a visit now of one of the top teams in NASCAR racing, Hendrick Motorsports, and they run 4 cars in the NASCAR Championship, and indeed they won the NASCAR title this year. First and second places, in fact. So what goes into making a successful NASCAR team? We took the opportunity to go along and visit their workshops and their museum as well, which was built right on the side of their workshops. An opportunity to have a look around some of the cars in more detail and see how NASCARs are put together. Join us on a little tour of the museum, and then we'll join Chuck Mack, who'll tell us a little bit more about the system here at Hendrick Motorsports and just what goes into making a championship-winning team. So let's hear a little bit more detail about all this from Chuck Mack.
What you see here, we've done 15,000 square foot museum we built strictly for the fans, showing part of the NASCAR racing history, part of the future, part of our components. We've got a 40-foot glass wall that looks into the adjoining race shops, which will certainly give our fans a bird's eye view of what goes on inside of a shop, how they maintain and prepare a car every week for the race. We've got some component displays. We've got a nice exploded chassis view, which we build our chassis here on the premises, which is unlike a lot of race teams. We have our own engine program. We have our own chassis program. And we have 4 complete race teams here on the premises. So as you can tell, we're a little larger than the normal NASCAR racing operation. probably the largest in NASCAR at the moment, with approximately 165 employees. We've got close to 200,000 square feet. We're located on about 24 acres, so it's a pretty big racing complex. We have some wrecks, some examples in here that I'm sure you've shot some footage of, but we have some wrecks. Kenny's famous 200-mile-an-hour rollover crash at Talladega last year, which, sorry to say, was caused by one of our own drivers. That part we usually don't talk about, but it shows how safe our racing is, how safe our cars are, and the abuse that they'll take. And we're very proud of our own chassis design and the strength that we build into our cars. The truck, the 24 truck, the Quaker State, is an example of the new Super Truck series that NASCAR races. It's a couple of years old, very young in its growth and development. This is our first effort at Super Truck racing, and we came in second in the points this year, so that was very exciting for us. The truck is the exact same chassis as a NASCAR. They look different from the sheet metal that they put on, but the chassis are exactly the same. The engines are the same except for a lower compression engine. They live longer, hopefully a little less expense involved is why they do that. But they look like pickup trucks, which is certainly one of the biggest selling vehicles in the United States. A couple other features, the Days of Thunder car here, that we were the technical advisors on the movie, and I even designed all the race cars for the movie, so that was a very pleasant experience on my behalf. But this is something, a way of, Mr. Hendrick's way of giving back to the fans. There's no admission. We certainly welcome people to come by and take a look while they're here at our complex, and hopefully broaden their knowledge of NASCAR racing and what it's all about. But if you'd like to come see the Champs shop, the DuPont shop, where we've got the championship team, we'll go take a look at that.
So we can be special guests in the championship winning team of the DuPont car. Jeff Gordon's car won the title in '95 and came close in '96.
Come on in and we'll come over here where it's a little less crowded. What I'm going to show you in here is approximately 15,000 square feet of race shop. This is where we maintain all of the race cars. They are a complete separate race team from all of our other teams. The only thing they share is their technical assistance. They do handle all the same equipment, but the technical expertise is shared amongst the teams. But when it comes to racing, they're all an independent team and race against each other with high competitiveness. This is a good example of some of our chassis that we build here on our complex. And you'll see it without the body shell on it. So it gives a good idea of all the steel that is involved inside of a NASCAR frame. Then, of course, after they get to this point, they'll take it back to the chassis shop and they'll start putting sheet metal on it, which makes it look like the car next to it. Of course, they don't look quite that pretty until they paint them and put all the decals on them. You'll see a lot of race cars, and they all look alike, but they all serve a different purpose. Because in our NASCAR racing series, we have the road race cars, we have the super speedway cars, we have the intermediate cars and the short track cars. So there are actually 4 different types of racing, and you always have a primary car and a backup car. So there's 8 race cars right there, along with some specialty cars that they will build from time to time, like a Charlotte car that only races at Charlotte Motor Speedway. They'll keep those cars special just for that 1 race a year, 2 races a year. But there's approximately 10 race cars per race team. They all look alike, but they all serve different purposes. Like this car does not have scoops here, where the car next to it does. Of course, when you know those scoops go to brake ducts to help cool the brakes, so you would need bigger brakes and need more cooling of the brakes on a short track or a road race course where the cars are using their brakes a lot. On a speedway car, you want more of an aerodynamic advantage where you wouldn't have all those holes and openings in the race car. Your wheel wells around the wheels are a little tighter, for more aerodynamic advantages. They, like I say, they look alike, but there's a lot of differences in the cars when you get down to the small minor things. Again, we build all of our engines here on the complex. They're 358 cubic inches. They put out about 720 horsepower, which is, you're getting ready to hear one personally. You can. Our engines they have a value of approximately $35,000 a piece, and they're only good for one race. Then we bring them back into the house, disassemble them, rebuild them, and get ready for the next race. We have approximately 150 engines that we rotate, so that engine does not need to be rebuilt within a week, but it does go through the, because Mr. Abraham, those engines do go back up to our engine shop and get put back into the lines so that they can be rebuilt and recirculated for the next race. There are minor differences between a short track engine and a speedway engine. Cam duration, things of that nature.
A mighty machine, that's the V8 of 720 brake horsepower. The chap was telling us bursts into life. And mechanics fettling these cars constantly. And notice how the guy who was starting the engine was actually able to stand inside the engine bay as he was trying to get the carburetor to run it properly. Absolutely immaculate preparation in beautiful workshops, worthy of the real top classes of racing in Europe as well.
Right now, my job is I have 15 people in here working on preparing cars for our final race in Atlanta. It'll be the cap off of a 31 race season. Our points championship is right now down to 47 points between us and our teammate Terry Labonte, and we're working hard trying to prepare two cars to go down there. One will be the race car, the other will be a backup car, and we've got to compete against 44 other cars in the Atlanta Napa 500. It's a 500-mile race, and in order to win the championship, we've got to lead the most laps, win the race, and our teammate has to finish worse than 8th. So if he finishes 8th or better, he'll be the world champion, NASCAR champion. And if we do what we're supposed to do, then we'll be the champion. But right now it looks like Hendrick Motorsports is going to win the championship, and I think that's what's most important.
This will give you a good idea of some of the parts and pieces, components that we use. Many of the different rear end gears. We have up to at least 80 different rear end gears that we use. We have half a dozen different transmission ratios that we go through. You can see some of the rear end housings, some of the different a couple engines that are prepared, ready to go to Atlanta. So that's gives you a good idea of an engine out of a car. That's the latest, the best equipment that Chevrolet has to offer. Every team has its transport that you have to get to the racetracks. It carries 2 race cars overhead. Of course, the back ramp acts as an elevator. Then inside the trailer, you have all the parts, the pieces, a kitchen. There's a lounge for the driver to relax, get air conditioned, get away from the fans, get away from the news people when he needs to relax a little bit, get prepared for a race. Gives him a place to change clothes. We'll go over there and see if the side door's open. If it is, we'll take a look inside if you'd like. You're looking at approximately, when this is loaded and ready to go on the road, you're looking at about $750,000. Anybody home? Mike.
That's where the driver is.
This is a little driver's lounge. Air conditioned, has a satellite dish, television, VCR, telephone. They keep in touch with the boss at the races to let him know how we're doing. This is a good place for him to get in and relax, change clothes, have meetings.
So this is the place where Jeff Gordon stays?
Yeah, this is where he relaxes at the racetrack. And being the current champion, they they have their own little area where Jeff's closet. His uniforms, driving uniforms. They certainly have more than that to take with them, but everything that's needed at a racetrack has to go in this truck. It's the only way they can get it to the track, and there's every nut, bolt, screw, washer, every part and piece to rebuild a car in case of a crash. Spare engines, transmissions. We'll take a walk through the alley here if you'd like. Everything they need is in a drawer, and if they need to fabricate some metal parts, work on a transmission or whatever, they do have all of that located here. We've got welders on board. Back here's a little kitchen, a little microwave, refrigerator, everything which makes it comfortable. Coffee filters, closets for the uniforms and for the guys, because you've got approximately 10 to 12 guys that go to a racetrack on the weekends, and they, of course, have to be comfortable with lunch, snacks, food. They have to have a place to change their clothes. Overhead here is where they put the cars. You can, there are no cars up there, but you can see where we roll the two cars overhead, and it makes for a very compact way of traveling.
And some pretty impressive equipment for towing that huge trailer around as well, and nothing quite like an American truck. Back into the workshop once again, where the entire car is built. They make virtually the whole car here in the Hendrick Motorsport workshops. Every little part, the hubs, the wishbones, all being built here, and of course the chassis themselves. The tubes all assembled, cut to size and welded together on the chassis flatbeds before being clothed in the body panels to make it look a bit more like the NASCAR we know and love. These huge tubular steel chassis, though, very much a feature of NASCAR racing. And perhaps one doesn't realize just what lies beneath the surface.
But if you'll notice, the roll cage is a lot taller than this roll cage. This is one of our truck chassis that they will build. This is a race car chassis. So this gets the car body on it. This one will get a truck body on it, as you saw in the museum. They're the exactly same construction. They've got approximately 120 feet of tubing in the chassis. After they cut and notch and build the car in sections, they'll bring it to one of these two plates, and then they'll start welding together and adding all the other bars to make it a complete welded unit. After it leaves these two tables, it goes over to one of these two plates over here, and that's where they start adding all of the sheet metal, which we don't have a real good example for you at the moment, but every part and piece on the car is handmade. We do use, as you can see, we use some stampings from Chevrolet. Being a Chevrolet race team, we'll use a hood, we'll use a roof section, and we use a deck lid. And those three pieces are the only ones, they're the only pieces that we're able to use from Chevrolet. And of course, we make all the sides, all the windows, all the front and rear valances. Right now, they're trying to take this body off the car. They want to save the chassis, but then they want to remove the body and change the sheet metal work a little bit.
And this is what it looks like in its slightly less painted state.
Side, all the little pieces around the windows, they get built individually. We are out here, we're in, again, the clean area. It's where I call the assembly room. Again, there's their chassis plate where they do all the setup. They'll put the scales, they'll do all the alignment and prepare the car to go to the racetrack. This is part of their fleet of cars. They have approximately 10 cars. We're at the end of the year, so a lot of cars have been disassembled, and we only have one race to go. So they'll keep 2 cars. The race this coming weekend. Everything else, as you can see, has been disassembled, or different types of updating have been accomplished on a lot of the cars. Again, this is about 15,000 square feet total space. They have their specialty rooms. Everything's arranged a little differently, but they all have the same facilities. We try to, you know, keep all of our shops equal when it comes to what they have to work with. The amount of money that we put in our research and development and all the technology that we develop, you cannot buy any of our frames or any of our race cars. Only if we built a new car and there's a car that is not making the driver happy or the crew chief happy, they'll sell an older car that isn't performing. But then we also will build a new car to replace that. Same with our engine program. We will not sell our engines. You cannot buy one of our engines. We keep all that technology. We've spent so many thousands of hours developing a very reliable 720 horsepower motor. We don't sell that. We do lease an engine to a race team, but it will be specially under contract that for approximately $1.5 million a year, we'll give him an engine program where they pick up their engines. We do supply them with engine tuners, but they never get to look inside the engine. They put it in their race car, they race, they take it out, give it back to us, we rebuild it, give them another one for the next week. So you cannot buy any of our technology. We have too many years and too much money tied into it to try to make a better race car and a better race engine.
So now we come to the end of our story, eh? Well,
yeah, that's pretty much. We've seen how the race shops operate, kind of the inside of our building, our transporters. It's big business, as I said, and it's no longer as much fun, but unless you really love this type of thing, it's a lot of work, a lot of hard work. The guys put in a lot of long hours, and we're proud of each and every one of them, and we've strived very hard to make Hendrick Motorsports the best, one of the best in the industry. So come back and visit again.
So a fascinating insight into how a NASCAR team works, and if you thought it was agricultural type of engineering in NASCAR, that should surely prove you with a different view. Fantastic setup there for Hendrick Motorsport, and that's just one of the teams involved in NASCAR these days. It really is a big money operation with the sponsors that you can see, household names as well. It's a fantastic form of motor racing, and as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be seeing a lot of it on Eurosport next year. The battle in the championship came down to these two in the end, but it was Terry Labonte in the Kellogg's #5 car that came through to take the title ahead of Jeff Gordon. Both cars run by Hendrick Motorsports, and they'll be hoping for similar success in 1997. If you want to watch it, the only way is to watch it here on Eurosport. We're looking forward to a NASCAR season in 1997. For now, from Speedworld, have a good Christmas and a NASCAR New Year. Bye-bye.